The Nature Conservancy writes, Great Wass Island projects further out to sea than any other landmass in eastern Maine, and exposure to the marine climate shapes the island's vegetation. The waters of the Gulf of Maine and the Canadian Bay of Fundy meet here and mix to produce a cool, humid, oceanic climate that is ideal for rare plants and natural communities. On the south shore of Great Wass, exposed granite bedrock drops steeply into the sea, giving evidence of the Fundian Fault, a long crack in the Earth's crust that extends from the Bay of Fundy to the coast of New Hampshire, just north of Boston. Geologically, Great Wass Island, Head Harbor Island, and Steel Harbor Island represent much of the visible portion of the Great Wass Pluton, a mass of igneous rock beginning as molten magma thrust through the Earth's surface. The Great Wass Archipelago's unique habitats support a high concentration of rare subarctic plant and animal species and an outstanding diversity of mosses and lichens. The area has been identified as one of the richest intertidal marine systems in Maine. This cove at Little Cape Point has a berm of large round stones, while other coves have berms of sand and gravel. The largest eelgrass beds are found at the pond on the southern tip of Great Wass. Eelgrass forms extensive underwater meadows in shallow bays, coves, and tidal creeks. Rockweed and other seaweeds populate the more exposed Cape Cove on the eastern side of Great Wass. These ecologically important areas serve as nursery, habitat, and feeding areas for many fish, waterfowl, wading birds, invertebrates, and other wildlife, including commercially valuable fish and shellfish, including lobster. Buffeted by heavy fog and precipitation and relatively low seasonal variations in temperature, the Great Wass Archipelago has one of the state's finest assemblages of coastal plateau bogs, coastal Maine's two largest jack pine woodlands, as well as pristine open headlands, black spruce rocky woodlands, and maritime spruce fir larch forests. A 2.2-mile trail brings us to the shore at Cape Cove and Little Cape Point on the east side of Great Wass. The trail winds through deep moss-floored spruce and fir forest, interspersed with open ledges of jack pine woodland. Several rare plants grow on the island's exposed headlands. Beachhead iris, marsh fellwort, and bird's-eye primrose are tolerant of extreme conditions, constant wind, salt spray, and a cool summer growing season. Great Wass Island supports one of Maine's largest stands of coastal jack pine, Pinus banksiana, on soil so thin that few other species besides these twisted and stunted trees can survive. Curiously, unlike their fire-dependent cousins to the north that rely on heat to open their cones and release their seeds, this particular community of jack pine successfully reproduces in the absence of fire. These jack pine woodlands are open canopy woodlands, less than 60% closure, in which the dominant tree is always jack pine. Red spruce, black spruce, or white pine are common associates. The canopy trees are generally stunted and have poor growth form. Below the canopy, smaller jack pines are common, with scattered shrubs. At Great Wass, there is extensive exposed bedrock with large patches of reindeer lichen in many of the jack pine stands with very little shallow soil. The bogs, or heaths of Great Wass, are a series of three major raised peatlands, hydrologically connected to one another and unique to coastal Maine. They are maritime slope bogs, formed on top of coastal bedrock that formed thousands of years ago, as sphagnum moss accumulated in the scoured basins left by retreating glaciers, creating the raised bogs we see today. The raised surface of these bogs is flat or undulating, generally with few to no trees, and features extensive lawns of deerhair sedge. The acidic peat soil supports carnivorous plants, like sundew and pitcher plant, and shrubs that can stand the extreme nutrient-poor environment. Rare species here include baked appleberry, bird's eye primrose, and marsh fellwort. Abundant species include deerhair sedge, black crowberry, and dragon's mouth orchid. We will take a closer look at portions of Cape Cove on the east side of Great Wass, beginning at Little Cape Point. Macrophytes. There have been 271 species of marine algae large enough to be seen with the naked eye, identified in the Gulf of Maine. Important coastal species include eelgrasses, rockweed, brown algae, and the commercially important Irish moss. Species of rockweed are seen in abundance at Little Cape Point and Cape Cove. During the cold winter months, rockweed has a very dark green color. In the warmer summer months, a portion of the plant will develop a gold-brown color. Anchored to rocks with a disc-shaped holdfast, the stipe divides into a series of branch fronds, each interspersed with air bladders. The total length of a mature plant can vary from 3 to 5 feet or more. Rockweed grows in the rocky mid to lower intertidal zone. It can be found in protected coves as well as in more open areas. The size of the stipe and air bladders will vary depending on the nutrient levels in the water, the strength of the water flow, and age of the plant. Kelps are also found in the Gulf of Maine. The most common species in this region are sugar kelp, oarweed, edible kelp, and shotgun kelp, the local name for sea colander. During the summer, fog insulates intertidal organisms from desiccation at low tides and allows less hardy species to live in the intertidal zone. Eastern Maine, including Great Wass, has 3 times as much fog as Portland, Maine, further south. Great Wass Island and its coast is a species-rich habitat, often pummeled by extreme tides and weather. Its mass of granite, evidence of a long-ago penetration of the Earth's crust by molten magma. Also impressive are the jack pine woodlands in its interior and its unique raised bogs.